Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a little bit of a commentary run on Gate 3 Akkan from my Soul Eater that I did on stream last night, and just giving you guys a little bit of tips and tricks that I was thinking through during this run. And we're going to be actually starting on the part before the boss because I wanted to let you know and show you what I do before I go into the boss. Let's start. So you can see here, we're just starting off with our regular rotation, right? And the reason why I'm showing you guys this part is because I feel like there's a lot of people who do mess up on this part before the boss. What your goal is with these mobs is to be able to head into Soul Snatch mode one time before you head into the boss. Because if you don't, you end up losing out on a lot of DPS because your rotation gets messed up during the actual run. You go into the run with a half filled up edge meter, the little red meter on the bottom, and then what ends up happening is you don't get to do a full rotation and it messes up your damage because going into Soul Snatch mode, as we've talked about before, it does decrease the amount of damage that you do. So we're just going to skip ahead a little bit past this part so we can get into the actual fight itself now. Now, for this part, what your support is supposed to do is, or somebody's supposed to do, is they're supposed to eat that attack so that you can not have Akkan do the little spinny move and hurt everybody. But we're just going to proceed with our rotation as normal. We're going to awaken here. I probably could have saved that awakening for later, but what ended up happening was I thought I might have messed up on my rotation. And because of that, I awakened to make sure that I had enough of the soul stones to be able to get a pink skill, an enhanced pink skill, and to make sure my rotation's fine. I didn't want to mess up my rotation right off the bat. I think that would have kind of made the rest of the run a little bit iffy. Now, I'd say that you're probably doing a pretty good job of DPSing if by the first, I guess it depends on your party damage, right? But if your party's doing a decent amount of damage, if you are able to enter Soul Snatch before this phase right here, I think you're probably pretty good for uptime on your DPS. But this part, you're just going to be using your skills, spamming them, and just staggering this boss. I think with Soul Eater, it is a little bit awkward sometimes with this stagger phase because you do fly through the boss with Vestige. So you kind of have to end up repositioning yourself quite a few times to be able to kind of get back into position after your rotation. Now, for this part, I see that the boss is almost staggered, so I actually end up going a little bit of a Goblino mode, and I hold my skills, my pink skills, because that is where the majority of my damage comes from, right? Your party might not appreciate that because it might be messing up their rotation as well, but, you know, at that moment, I was just thinking about myself, and it is what it is, right? I wanted to get top DPS for this. For reference, for this run, I had kind of made a bet with my chat that if I did not get onto the MVP screen, I would get rid of my outfit. And for some reason, my chat just really doesn't like my outfit on my Soul Eater. But yeah, so this part, you can DPS and greed until he gets on the ground with the stagger bar. So you can go ahead and greed damage there. Right now, nobody has really decided, our party hasn't really decided who's going to be doing the tether, so that's why it's a little bit of a mess. But I end up coming in here and helping out as well because of that. But for reference, I'm running this run with a very juiced, not very juiced, but a pretty juiced War Dancer and a pretty juiced Striker as well. The War Dancer is 1610 with 9s and 10s, and the Striker is 1580, but he also has 9 and 10s. I'm 1595 at the moment, but I only have 7s and 8s. So I am pretty under geared compared to the top geared people, but I'm also not in the most ideal party setting, as you can see. So we're just doing our normal rotations here and getting into the phase with the statues. Now with hard mode, you don't want to stand in the top left corner of this map because you'll get hit. You might get hit by the axe. So as you can see, I started there a little bit to the bottom right just in case that happened. Or just off of habit, I guess. This is a normal mode. And it doesn't actually happen. So here we are, just adjusting the stars. I'm probably just going to skip forward here. There's not really much happening. And then afterwards, this is a big DPS window. If you're going to Atro, this might be one of the Atro windows, but it depends on your burst window because this isn't a full like 9 seconds worth of DPS. But here we have a damage reduction part, so I'm saving my skills. I'm holding my skills and waiting until it finishes the DR before I go in for the attack. Now, one of the Soul Eaters die on our party, unfortunately, here. But luckily this is normal, so it doesn't really matter too much. Even hard, it wouldn't matter all that much. But if the party was a little bit less juice, it would. So right here, I agreed for an attack because I felt like I was going to be able to finish that lethal spinning before the end of my soul snatch mode and be able to still dodge, which was the case. So that's why I did it. It was a little bit of a risk because if I didn't, then I would have gotten hurt, and recovering from that is a little bit tough sometimes. Unfortunately, I did miss my vestige there, so that happened. Nothing you can do about it. Sometimes you just miss your attacks. So this attack right here, actually, that was completely fine. I ended up getting diseased, and I called for one of my teammates to come save me. I think that that's something that a lot of people don't really do. They don't really communicate to their teammates. Luckily, I was in voice chat with my teammates, so I was able to just call it out. But a lot of times, people don't really call out for people to cleanse them in Akkan, which I think is a big mistake. So this little pattern here, you just kind of had to stand in between the little green areas, and after this, his back is the safe spot, so you should stand there. I ended up, as you can see here, with this rotation, right? I ended up doing an empowered vestige because, as you can see with my meter, I didn't end up getting the full gauge to go into soul snatch mode, and with one more pink skill I would have, but because I wanted to maximize on damage, whether I empower it or not, I'm going to be heading into the soul snatch mode. So I use this opportunity to use my awakening to empower that skill and then do a little bit of extra damage and go into soul snatch mode afterwards. That's something that you need to constantly have on your mind when you're playing this class, looking at your meter, seeing what'll take you into soul snatch mode, and then using your skills accordingly because of that. Again, your soul snatch mode does reduce your damage by a little bit, so you want to be able to not go into that mode as much as you can. But if you have that situation where, regardless of what pink skill you're using, an empowered one or an unempowered one, you will head into it, then you should be able to awaken in that situation. So this situation right here is an interesting one. So as you can see, I threw my guillotine, but I didn't get my Reaper Scythe out. So that means the cooldowns for that are going to be off from one another. So when I try to go into my next rotation, my cooldowns will not be aligned. So as a result, I'm not super greedy here because I know that I'm going to need some time anyways for my rotation to come back up. But as a result of not really greeting there, what ends up happening is now the skills are aligned, but as you can see here, I used an unempowered vestige. Normally that would have taken me into soul snatch, but it didn't do that this rotation. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, I'm in a situation now where I have no pink skills, and I'm not in soul snatch yet. And by the time my pink skills come up, an unempowered soul snatch unempowered vestige might not get me into soul snatch mode. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to use my purple skills, get my meter. That way, when I get my vestige back, I will be able to empower it and then head into soul snatch mode, which is what happened here. And with that, it also took some time and allowed my lethal spinning to come off cooldown, and it allowed me to use it at least once in this rotation. So that's something you need to constantly be thinking about as a Night's Edge Soul Eater. You need to be thinking about your meter, you need to be thinking about your soul stones, and thinking about what skills you have available to use to get you through your rotation. Your rotation might not always be clean and be exactly the way that people say is the perfect rotation, but you need to understand what skills will get you your meter, what skills will get you enough, what skills won't, and use them accordingly and be flexible in those situations. You can't always just rely on being able to do the perfect rotation because in a real raid setting, that doesn't always happen. So here, I used my Reaper Scythe to super armor just in case I didn't make it out of that. I mean, it was also my rotation, but the reason why I threw that out instead of just dodging is because I knew that I had my Reaper Scythe to help me eat the attack in case I did get hit. So here we're heading into the final phases of Gate 3 Akkan normal mode. Because this is normal mode, there is no kind of that extra 0 bar mechanic, the Gate 4 as people call it, of Akkan. So we're just going to end up DPSing this guy here and then finishing up the run. But there is one more piece, one more time I do use my awakening, and I wanted to go over that awakening usage with you guys again. So again, as I have talked about before, Soul Snatch, it is a decrease in DPS, and if you throw in an awakening in a place where your pink skill will not net you, well, throwing in an awakening to empower a pink skill will make it so you head into Soul Snatch a little bit early. That is actually a decrease in DPS. So as you can see here, I was about to head into Soul Snatch with my Reaper Scythe, right? So I throw out the guillotine, and then my Reaper Scythe is about to put me into Soul Snatch. So I awaken there before that to get an empowered Reaper Scythe to maximize the amount of damage that I do. And that is about it for this gate. We end up using Way to do the special mechanic, and then we end up clearing it. Now, again, we did have a very juiced War Dancer in this party, so I wasn't really expecting to get top DPS, but I did end up getting Cruel Fighter at the end of the day. And I was so happy because I didn't have to change my Soul Eater's outfit. But there you go, guys. That is the commentary run on Akkan Gate 3 for my Knight's Edge Soul Eater. It's 1595, 5x3x1, and I would say it's a very, very, very strong and fun class. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, as always, remember to hit that like button, hit the sub button, ring the bell for notifications, and leave a comment in the comment section down below, and let me know if this helped you a bit with your Soul Eater gameplay. Alright guys, and as always, I stream on Twitch every night at 10 p.m. PST on twitch.tv/MisoXJiru, and I also multi-stream on YouTube as well, so you can catch me on both of those platforms. But if I don't catch you guys on my stream, hopefully I'll see y'all on the next video. Alright guys, peace out.